Hello and welcome to the Glow Up Method. This is the place where we talk all things life transformation, our personal growth and development, all on our own journeys to live a life that makes us proud. Not as in me making me proud, like you living a life that makes you proud. Hi, my name is Natasha and I am so honored and excited to be your host today. Yes, as you can see, I am still not in my home and I probably won't be for a couple more days. And that's a plus and a minus, right? I'm talking all about shifting perspectives, changing, transforming. And sometimes when we stay in the same place over and over, we get stuck, right? So today in real time is Lunar New Year's, and I am so thrilled. So last year on Lunar New Year, it was my year. I'm a dragon, very proudly a dragon. I have a lot of Asian influence in my family. My grandma was raised in China, born in Mongolia. My auntie was Asian. My grandpa was also raised there. Like, we have a long history with Eastern traditions, and it's a really it's a fun, it's an exciting time. You know, I've been doing a lot of cleaning in preparation to have the houses all clean and ready to bring in the new year and bring in new health, prosperity, and all that. So as we, said goodbye to the year of the dragon, we are now welcoming the year of the snake. And funny thing about the snake is this morning I did some research about it. My daughter is a snake, which of course, like, a lot of people have like their preconceived notions, me included. I was like, no, why is my daughter going to be a snake? I had any control over it. But she was going to be a snake. But it was funny, what I was reading today is a snake is like often referred to as a little dragon. And I thought, how cute. How come it's taken me 23 years to like see this spin? And there's a lot of ways in which my little snake over there is much like her big mama dragon. So I thought this was absolutely apropos. But I started doing some research, like, okay, what does the snake represent? Like, what is this year for? And I was like, this is so freaking spot on. This is going to be the subject of today's episode. So the snake is all about transformation. It's all about shedding literally their skin that is restricting them. Many times throughout a snake's life, they shed their skins because it becomes too restrictive for them. And I thought, oh my God, this is so perfect. Like, here we are talking about things. And a lot of it that I was reading was about releasing. It's like, this is the year for big change. Here's the catch, if you're willing to do so. Like, you have to be willing to release a lot of the toxic thoughts, behaviors, patterns, habits that you have instilled in you. You have to be willing to make those adjustments. And I feel like I'm there. Like, one of the things was talking, and it was like it was talking to me. It was saying, like, you have to be willing to release what you have, like I was saying, these preconceived notions. And it immediately took myself to my relationship with Chris. And it was like, in a sense, I've shed that skin of the significant other I have been for the last 20 something years. And yes, throughout that process, there were times that I was a really good wife. There was times in that process I was a terrible wife. There was the times in that process I was just, okay, I was there. And what I'm really working towards, again, like I say, is what I'm practicing is showing up in that fairy tale-like manner that I always wanted. I was waiting for somebody to write my story. I was waiting for Chris to know what it was exactly I wanted and how I wanted and when I wanted. But what I realize now is I have left like some important roles in the hands of somebody who simply didn't know and could never know. He's never experienced one single day in my mind, right? He's never experienced one single day in my heart. It's up to me to communicate. And it's up to me to show up and create this fairy tale that I seek. And if he's able to respond and reciprocate and be a part of that story, then fabulous. We're on the right direction. And if he's not, then I know, right? Like, I have to either be willing to A, sacrifice the fairy tale, or B, adapt it, or C, say, no, I need this fairy tale. And it may or may not exist, but I'm going to die trying, right? So it was interesting how everything comes up. So I'm watching my time in history, so I can post this morning about, thing. And it was talking about how I watched this love show. And I was just telling Chris, like, I've spent so much of my life trying to not see what I didn't have. If I watched a rom-com, if I watched like a real romantic movie, if I watched romantic shows, I would suddenly get these bursts of feelings, and I would feel so empty because I didn't have these feelings. And it was as if in sometimes, like, I can see this future relationship. I could see like this love where you're sitting across the table and holding hands and gazing in one another's eyes, and you didn't even need to talk. And my existence, in which I was currently existing in at the time of filming, at the time of watching those, and at the time of living, it seemed so far from what my reality was with Chris that there was no possible way that could be true. Like, it couldn't be possible that he was my enemy and also the greatest love of my life. And so, what I'm learning in this process is, even from that day, like on that thing I was talking about, I was watching this show and it was making me feel these butterflies and these feelings and this desire to, quote unquote, have this fairy tale love. And I think there's just something so magical about that existence. And is everything perfect between Chris and I? No. I mean, yesterday I had a little bit of a challenging day in the afternoon. I started realizing it's the end of the month. I'm starting to realize this little nest egg that I had created and was holding on to is quickly disintegrating. It is evaporating before my eyes. And, I am holding on to this hope of holding on to something, and I'm doing everything I think I can do, and then I do, and I don't want to, anyways, I can go on for in ambiguity for a long time. But like, my nest egg is disappearing, and I felt very overwhelmed. I didn't feel like frustrated with Chris, which was an addition, like it was a new feeling, because before, when it came to finances, I always just felt frustrated with him. What I realize now is my frustration was with me. My frustration was with my own thing, because now I'm independent of him, technically, right? Technically not, but technically am. And the kids are technically my responsibility, minus, a chunk of money he gives. And it feels like it's my own problem to manage. And then, of course, he asked me, what's going on? And I wanted to say, no, nothing. But I'm realizing, okay, that's an old behavior. I need to communicate. I'm a little bit nervous. It's the end of the month, and I'm realizing, I'm cute and all, but that cute doesn't pay the bills. Unless I have a profession that, cute pays the bills, which I don't. So, it's really tricky, and I want to maintain certain parts of my life. I'm using this energy to invest in Chris, and maybe I'm over investing in that relationship because I really want some answers and solutions somewhere in my life. I'm also doing things on the back end to not only do this, but also another project. And then I take 2 steps forward and I'm taking a step back, because there's a thing called processing, and everything takes time. And some things have been just taking months and weeks, and I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to say, let's do this. And, in the meantime, other people's perspectives, other people's judgments, other people's opinions, they're coming in and, giving me a different perspective that maybe I'm making my life a little bit harder than it needs to be. But, I have this, stubborn quality about me that, I make a decision and I really want to see it through. And I think ultimately what ends up happening, if I'm able to acquire a loan, then great, I'm going to go ahead and do it. If I'm not, I need to be open to the fact that maybe my dream needs to shift and alter some. And that will shift and alter my life in multiple different ways, which is a good thing, right? Like, a change, right? Like, maybe the way I'm thinking and the way I'm living currently is being too restrictive. I'm placing these rules on my life. And, being here in Chris's place, right? It's interesting because, you fall into tendencies. I clean it, I air it out, I naturally kind of take things over and adjust things and move things around, but this isn't my house. And sometimes I need to tell myself, take a step back. He's not accepting of what I'm doing, but I also can see now my tendencies to kind of take things over and take on responsibilities that aren't mine. And that time, while it may be 5 or 10 minutes here or there, is not spent investing on myself or in my other projects. It's kind of a distraction, right? And then I go home and I do the same thing in my home. I'm cleaning, cooking, shopping, all these things. And then, I'm often tired at night, right? So I think being out of my environment, my natural environment, has allowed me to see many things. It has allowed me to see there is an expiration time in which I am the sole responsible party for my kids. And there's a time that my kids are going to need to grow up and start going on their own lives, because there isn't just an endless supply of financial things. And plus, I think it's great for them to be able to go on and start their own lives. It's a challenging, economic climate out there, and we live in a challenging area. So I understand there are challenges there, but I feel like this too will help them grow. I feel like I've already had tremendous growth this year. I really resonated with the part that, yeah, I know Chris and I have a lot of history that we might need to go back and heal. But quite honestly, I feel like I almost want to bury that stuff. And not that I just want to pretend it didn't happen. Absolutely do I want to learn from it and know, hey, wait a second, if this comes up, this triggers me. And here's how I can communicate it. But I almost as if I want to start anew. I can beat every situation in the past up and explain how you wronged me and wait for this apology. But quite honestly, the way I feel right now, I feel like I've just shed this old version of our relationship. Not to be too into this year of the snake thing, but that's the way it feels. It feels like when Chris moved out, it shed this part of our relationship. And now there has emerged this new relationship. And, originally when he left, it was like tit for tat, right? It was going back and forth and same old, same old. And actually there was a lot of times in which he had the maturity because he had come to terms with this. He had come to terms with the relationship ending and what he wanted to do long before I ever knew. And I kind of was just under the assumption, status quo, let's keep it going. He's not going to do anything. And so, yeah, it was absolutely shocking that he did. And again, it was even more shocking that I felt beyond the money, beyond the finances, beyond the kids, beyond anything, I personally missed him. I personally felt heartbreak, and I didn't think I would feel like that. I thought I would feel relief. I thought there would be this sense of finally, this was what was meant to happen. And when the feelings just kept intensifying, it was this need for me to communicate that. That was my part. And what's transpired since then is nothing short of to me, it's almost when I saw my son die and, everybody came in, they resuscitated him. It took a while. There was a million doctors in there, million nurses and everybody. There were social workers coming in after and talking to me because it was such a traumatic event. Every minute since then with my son, I have felt is borrowed time. It wasn't supposed to be there. In some weird shifted story, it wouldn't have been there, right? But I was so fortunate. I was so fortunate. He was so fortunate. Chris was so fortunate. The world is so fortunate that he has breathed every breath since then, and his heart has beat every beat since then. And that's almost like what this relationship feels like. It was, by all intents and purposes, dead. It took a perfect storm of an attorney, who had been in practice for many years. And I was calling and gathering as much information. And I was also being very strategic, because if I call and consult with you, you can't hire him, Chris. So note out there to you, ladies, it takes a while, but go out there and, find who the sharks are and interview them and get a consult, because now they're locked into you. So I was being strategic. I'm a smart woman. And this one gentleman, he just reminded me of my auntie. He spoke like my auntie. He said, right, like the way she did. And it felt like it was almost this sign from above. And, the first thing he said is, do you have a pen and paper? I want you to write this down. Just because somebody moves out, just because somebody files for divorce, it doesn't mean you need to get a divorce. It doesn't mean you're going to divorce. He said, I've seen everything, every kind of divorce you can imagine, from rich to poor, to every creed, every religion, every nationality, I've seen it all. And I want you to know that. And for some reason that really resonated with me. And I say that because my auntie and uncle, the ones who helped raise me, there was a time in their life in which my auntie moved out. And I don't think my uncle ever thought she would. I mean, she was head over heels in love with him. And she got an apartment almost very similar as I'm sitting here like this, thinking about it. It was a 2-story apartment, and I never connected the two, but there are some similarities. Anyways, they ended up getting back together. She had her lease for a long time. She got her license. She got her own independence. And they went back together, and they were never the same again. They were always so much better. I mean, they really, 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 really loved each other. And they had the opportunity to not. They had the opportunity to love each other, but be apart. And they chose not. And so, it almost felt like when I spoke to this gentleman, it was almost as if she was talking to me. And I know that sounds crazy, right? I always say these crazy things, right? But just there was this feeling that there was something there. So again, I will have no guarantees of the way he shows up, the way in which I show up, but I know it's different. Like last night when I was feeling down and quiet, he didn't shut down. He didn't feel responsible. He asked with curiosity. He has shown up very differently with me, and I've shown up very differently with him. We all, in intensive purposes, are this new version of us. We are something that had died and is almost on this borrowed time. And I think we both appreciate and recognize that. And I believe that what we have shed was the part that was restricting us. All of those old beliefs, all of those things that are easy to hold on to, right? I can say, he's a this, he's a that, he's this, he's that all day long if I want to focus on that. But what I am focusing on is, who is he showing up as today? And that's what I want this year to be about for me and for you. I want us to focus on, maybe in the past I've lied. Maybe in the past I've done something wrong. Maybe in the past I wasn't validating of your feelings. Maybe in the past I yelled. Maybe in the past I did whatever it is. But who am I showing up as today? Those default settings, they're in there, right? They're part of our DNA. But here's the beautiful part. They can be reprogrammed. Just because something comes to us with the factory set default in there, it doesn't mean we can't adapt it. It doesn't mean we can't shift it, change it, or make it better. And, if you want to experience growth in your life, it is possible. Gosh, there's a bazillion YouTube channels out there and a bazillion more episodes of people sharing their wisdom. There's books, there's, podcasts. The information is out there. And honestly, if you listen to it long enough, you will see how it repeats the same stuff over and over. They're the same simple concepts. You just have to make the decision. Number one, you have to be willing to do it. Number two, you got to figure out your why. And number three, you got to start now, today. No more 1 days. Today is day one of your transformation. And I'd love to see, what is it you're holding on to that it's time to shed? What stories or realities are you holding on to that are not serving you? Yes, I can sit here and say My relationship is so complex with my daughter, and it is. It really is. But I can also show up consistently without my ego, without my things, and say, you know what? She may not respond, but I'm going to tell her every day I love you. Every day I'm going to say goodnight to her. Now, what she does with that information, it's up to her. She can block me. She can freaking get a restraining order for texting too much. She can respond. She can read it and say nothing. Listen, that's up to her. That's her journey. What I'm doing is independent of her. What I'm doing is doing what makes me proud. It's not like, well, I texted her and she did not respond to me, so I'm not going to text her now. No, I don't care about all that. That's ego. That's hurt feelings. That's emotions getting in the way. What is it I want? I want a healthy, happy relationship with my daughter. I want my daughter to be healthy and happy and confident and know she's loved and worthy. And maybe me telling her I love you and good night is pissing her off. And if that's what pisses you off in life, then you know what? That's your work to deal with. But the important part for me is to show up and be the person I want to be. I want to be that mom that tells you every day that I love you. And so I am. I want to be that person that exemplifies to my children that anything you want to do is possible. That even at 300 pounds, you can change your life so much so, thankfully, by the miracle of my DNA, my ability to do things, my intelligence, all these things. And I can take 300 pounds and turn it into half of that. I can evaporate more than a whole human. And it didn't happen very fast. And it didn't happen without some pain and some struggles and a lot of days where I didn't want to. But I got up and I did it anyways. And I shared that with my kids. I shared that with other people. Some days I don't want to do it either. But I've never, ever regret doing it. I mean, there was one day that I was like, you know what? I pushed myself too much. And I learned that lesson. But there's never a regret that I went. Ever. Never once. And so I say that to say, when you keep going, you will get that momentum. You will see the progress. It takes time. And even if you do all that, there is no guarantees. If we focus on the outcome instead of the journey, we sometimes lose sight of who we are. Let me give you this great example. So yesterday I had somebody came up to me and they said, yeah, can I talk to you? Can I ask you some questions? You know, I remember you telling me once you intermittent fast, and I'm incorporating that in my life. But I find that I'm so hungry. And now, you know, I went on this 6-week vacation, and so I'm coming back and I'm intermittent fasting, and I'm getting to the gym frequently. I'm adjusting what I am eating. And I was like, whoa. You got to slow down. Like, this is my opinion. This is what works for me. This is what I've learned in my journey. Pick one thing. You can either do a lot of exercise, or you can adjust what it is you're eating, or you can adjust when you're eating. But if you're trying to do all three plus whatever else you're trying to do in your life all at one time, it's too much. It's shocking to your system. And when we get shocked, we get scared, and we're going to not follow through with something. So pick one. I would say pick your eating time, right? Like, that's an easy adjustment, right? Like, okay, I'm only going to eat at these times. That's simple enough. Pick your time. Pick a time. That's day one, okay? We're not even going to try to do it. So today, what my job today is, I'm going to pick that I'm going to eat from these hours. And you try it. Where I started, where the time that I eat, and where I ultimately ended is different. And if I didn't have kids and a family, it would also be different. It's adapted a million times in between because I'm different. My lifestyle's different. Things change from day to day. I started during a pandemic, and now we're not in a pandemic. And so, you know, that was my recommendations to her. Start small. And starting small means we're going to just do this. And I was like, and don't do the full window. Like, just start naturally cutting your time back 30 minutes, 30 minutes here. And again, I explained there's so many times in that process in which at 8:30, 8:45, I panic ate because I was like, oh my gosh, I have the gym tomorrow. I want to be able to exercise. I'm not going to be able to eat till 1. It was psychology. It wasn't I was hungry. I would be making my kids food or smell food. And all of a sudden I was ravenous. No, I'm not hungry. I just smell it and I want to eat. And there are times now that I smell it and want to eat, and I do. And there's times now that I'm like, listen, girl, are you really hungry right now? What's going on? No, you're not hungry, then we're not going to eat. Okay? Like, that's easy. Withdrawing from the food. When I'm out in the world and doing things, I realize I'm not really hungry. It's when I'm sitting at home. Here's a trigger. When I'm sitting doing these things, suddenly I'm really hungry, but I'm not really hungry. So that's what I told her. She's like, I found myself wanting to eat all day long within that window. And I said, that's fine. Let it be. Don't worry about what you're eating. Don't worry about the quantity. Focus on when you're eating. And as your body starts to get comfortable, like, oh, I can survive, you will start adapting. And it'll be, maybe days, weeks in between each one. And then she was starting to talk already about, did you ever do a 24-hour fast? Do you do those a couple of days a week? And I was like, yes, I do. But that comes a long time from now. I said, especially as a hormonal woman, like for me, right before my period, I'm ravenous. There's no way I'm going 24 hours without eating. I could, it's possible, but I'm not very comfortable in that situation. I rather listen to my body. And that's the beauty of intermittent fasting for me. Number one, it set me some rules and some times, and I knew that I was the creator of the rules, so I can break the rules when I want to. But it also gave me this ability to say, hold on a second here. For so many years, my eating was dictated by a clock. My eating was dictated by a school. My eating was dictated by a job. My eating was dictated by commercialism that's telling me I need to eat breakfast in the morning, I need to eat lunch here, and I need to eat dinner here, and that's when you have your snack time and your dessert. Listen, we threw all those rules that other people created for me and for you out the window and said, you know what? This is your body. You create the rules, girl. This is your life. This is your thing. And so being able to finally get in tune with my body and listen has been such a gift. I mean, there's so many times, like even within the gym, which is why I like this bar class. In my dance class, it's all momentum. It's muscle memory. It's good times. It's not thinking. And for a lot of times, my bar class was that way. But as of recently, I'm really trying to tune in and make that mind-body connection. I go through the motions. I'm strong. So I'm, lifting my arm and doing whatever. But I'm not engaging the muscle. I'm not taking the time. And so lately, I've been really hyper-focusing on, hey, let's do it and let's do it right. Let's get, feel the muscle, feel these things. And I've noticed personal gains in which the way I feel when I'm doing it. It's not like, oh, whoops, I wasn't really using my muscles. I was just moving them. And so what I am here to say is this is going to be a great year for you. I know it. I believe it. It's going to be a great kick butt year for me too. This is the year about shedding those old beliefs. This is the year where we emerge as the new version of us that no longer restricts us, that allows us to move freely in this world. And I think a lot of times we, like a snake, out of our own fears and insecurities, we develop this fang, we put fangs and rattles to scare people away. And as a protective thing, right? I'm going to hold this against you, but really there is a true love story that is connected with the snake. And I find that to be very beautiful. And I think for me, that part of this year is, again, really leaning further into the love of thyself, right? Because I love myself and I'm not afraid to say that or experience it. But it's almost like I'm going to that next level where the evolution is now, I started, I talk about an onion, right? And that's learning how to love yourself. It's in the center, self-care, self-worth, all those things. And once you really begin to practice on a consistent basis, we'll never fully master anything, but master it as much as you can. It's now time to go to level 2 where we start incorporating and learning how to love thyself and love others, right? And so for me, the next natural step is to love a partner. The love of my kids is obvious and ever present. And so learning how to love a partner is this exciting endeavor I'm on, in addition to this next project in which you guys are going to be getting front row seats to. So, and that is a whole transformation and shedding of its skin as well. So there are a lot of parallels, please comment below what it is that you've been stuck in. What old beliefs are you going to shed this year? I'd love to hear them. Or what old beliefs have you shed this year, since by the time this publishes, a lot of the year has already gone by for you. And, is this a reminder for you that, hey, maybe I, started off strong, but I need to make some more adjustments. So again, I thank you so much for tuning in all the way to the end and listening. I'm so proud of you. I'm so honored to be a part of your journey. And I'm so honored that you are a part of mine. So please go out there today, give somebody a big smile, give them a compliment, and just watch how they glow up. And today, as an added bonus, I'd love if you'd give yourself a smile and give yourself a compliment in the mirror. You deserve a smile and a compliment from your biggest cheerleader, who is yourself. Bye.